Hello and welcome back to Rev Endurance Sports and a reaction video to my Dynaplug on the roadside repair of a puncture. So a couple of things before we start. If you have not been watching my channel for a while, you will not really understand why that video is so contrary to things that you have seen on this channel. And that is that I hated on Tubeless pretty much since 2008 when I first tried it out. And of course we were riding 23 tires then at 90 psi, 100 psi. So Tubeless just didn't work at those pressures. Over time, and especially let's say the last year and a half, I have gone from many years 25, but about a year and a half ago I started riding 28s, and then last year pretty much started riding 30s and 32s from time to time on mixed terrain ultras. And with those with those larger tires, lower pressure became the thing. And Tubeless has been working really well for me. So it takes that type of combination. So if you're still running a high pressure on a smaller width tire, you're still going to have problems. So I want to react to some of these comments because I used to be that guy or girl. And I'm slowly, still a Retro Grouch, so I'm slowly becoming a convert. A little bit more history before I get into the comments. I'm an ultra cyclist. If you have not come on to the channel before, thank you for being here. But I ride really long distances, and my events are really long distances. For some folks, that's subjective. So let me give you some actual quantitative data to digest. So last year, I did an event called Paris-Brest Paris, and that's 1200K. So there was some. The route was 1226 kilometers, 12,000 meters, or 762 miles with 40,000 feet. I did the events that you have to do to qualify. So a 200K, 300K, 400K, 600K. Oh, my screen just went dead. Without any punctures. I did Paris-Brest Paris without any punctures. Then this year, same thing. I did 200K, 300K, 400K, 600K, and then did another 600K. No punctures, no flat issues. Not to mention all the other miles of just riding the bike. So that video that I just shot, it's probably been 10,000 miles since I've had a puncture that I had to put a plug in. I think there was maybe one other one, and that's it. So, yeah, so let's talk about this puncture. It was a piece of glass. So had I had a tube, TPU, right? By the way, I just don't understand this TPU thing. It would have punctured that. So I would have had to definitely replace a tube, boot the tire, put a tube in, and get down the road. If you see that video, that's real life, no editing, no cuts, which some people appreciate. That puncture repair took like 3 minutes, and that's because I was talking during the video. I challenge anyone to remove the tire, remove the wheel, remove the tire, insert a new tube, put everything back together, put all your tools back into your toolkit in the 3 minutes that it took me to do that puncture repair. I challenge you, you will not be able to do it. I change flat tires for a living here in the shop. I'm probably at about 3 minutes, but that's with the tire just with the wheels sitting outside of the bike and no tools that I have to put back in the tool bag and all that. So just putting the plug in, airing it back up. And by the way, I could have used CO2, but I didn't want to waste the CO2 because I was less than a mile from the house. So let's get on with some of these comments. By the way, what I'm trying to say is Tubeless was the better tire and flat repair protocol in this point. That is controversial for some folks, and if you've been watching my channel for a long time, you know that that has never been my stance. So, teaching an old dog new tricks, as they say. All right, so let's look at some of these comments. So, GC641, he's like, oh, I'm sticking with tubes and TPU, and he says, because I say, I just don't understand the benefit of TPU. And he says, well, light rolling resistance, spare is very compact, but still would have to take the wheel off, replace the tube roadside. Yeah, you would. Then he also says something about I wouldn't have to clean all that mess off my wheels and refill. Call me old school. So let's address that. You got to clean your bike anyway, right? Weekly, after every ride. Some people do a routine where they probably clean their bike after every ride. I ride steel bikes, glossy finish. I mean, the stuff just wipes right off. You have to clean your bike anyway, right? It's not that hard. When you ride carbon bikes, matte finishes, stuff like that, yeah, the sealant is a little bit harder to get off. It also gets in all these weird shapes of carbon bikes, but I really don't ride carbon bikes anymore because they all just break. So my steel bikes, plenty of room to just take the rag, or I take the wheel out and clean that off. So that mess is a necessary evil, but it's not that big of a deal. Not anymore. It used to be when I rode my carbon bikes with all these odd shapes and stuff. So the other thing is, you know, folks like to buy these tubes off of AliExpress or some of these other places. There's some good ones, there's some knockoffs. I'm a bike shop. I don't support Chinese brands in that respect. I support my distributors because they've taken the time, the investment to carry things like Tubelitos or Schwabi or the Vittoria. So those are the brands that I purchase because I support my distributors. And they are very, very expensive. So to me, as a bike shop owner, just to stock them is expensive. To ride them, I had a double flat one day. That's like 50 bucks in tubes. What is it, like 20 something per tube? That's just ridiculous. It just doesn't make sense to me to ride TPUs, right? So that's that. Then there was another gentleman. Oh, he said, oh, because now you have when you put the plug in, you have this thump, thump, thump as you're riding. And then then if the plug doesn't work, then you still have to put in a tube, or if the plug works, then you got to put sealant in there. You got to break the seal of the tire, do all that. I'm like, what is this guy talking about? Number one, when you put the plug in, there's some little bit that sticks out. You'll see in the video. You could trim that off if you are that anal about it. But oh my God, if that little thump thump is bothering you, give up cycling because it's not that big of a deal. That little bit that sticks out, in a mile or two, it's mashed down. That's it. You don't even notice it anymore. I mean, it literally is about a mile later. It's mashed down. You don't even notice it. If it does bother you, I do have nail clippers and tweezers in my toolkit for other reasons, but you could trim it off. I just didn't want to because it wasn't necessary. Next thing is, the next day, you take the valve core out, put the sealant in with your injector, it's literally a 30-second fix, right? Take the valve core out, put your sealant in there, put the valve core back on, air up the tire. You're done. You're done. You don't have to break the seal of the tire. You don't have, yeah, it's a very fast refill and you're done. Now, I wear out tires way before I have to refill them, right? So you're supposed to refill, I don't know, every 4 to 6 months. I wear out tires way sooner than that. So I'm not constantly having to do the work of the maintenance of refilling my tires. If you don't ride much, and what I mean by not riding much, because I get this often, people say, oh, I haven't had a flat in 6 months. Yeah, but you only ride like what? Pick a number. It's usually not enough to say 6 months. Say mileage. That's more quantitative to say I haven't had a flat in 6,000 miles than to say I haven't had a flat in 3 years, because you only ride 2,000 miles per year. So yeah, I wear out tires before I have to refill the sealant in them. So that to me, because of the mileage I do, you know, Labor Day weekend, I did 100 miles on Saturday, 100 miles on Monday. That's 200 miles in 2 days, you know, with a day in between to just chill. But if I keep up that mileage, which sometimes I do, I'm just wearing out tires, all right? There was someone else who said, there was another comment that I thought was so interesting. Oh, yeah, there was someone who said, oh, I use a Fumpa. Yeah, I think those things are great, but I'm not going to spend $100 on something like that. I got a nice Silka pump that I'm going to have for I don't know how many years. I've got some of my other pumps I've had for 10, 15 years. There's a lot of times I will use the pump even though I have CO2s with me. Mainly because CO2s cost money. The pump is free. It's just a little bit of what is it? Elbow or, you know, muscles to get it to air up. By the way, I think that valve is a little bit clogged. I'm not sure because the pumping on that Silka pump should have been a little bit easier, but that's fine. Maybe the valve wasn't all the way open. But some of these gadgets are just not necessary to enjoy cycling. So I like to keep my life gadget free when it comes to certain things. So I'd rather have a frame pump than a mini pump, right? Because that's just a gadget. It's just like a cute little toy. Mini pumps just don't work very well. So I'd rather have a frame pump. I'd rather have a frame pump than one of those electric Fumpa pumps. I just don't. I want to enjoy my bike riding. I don't want to have to worry about, oh, now I got to recharge this thing. It's just one more thing to recharge, right? It's battery operated, so you have to charge it. Oh, what if I didn't charge it? What if it discharged? I don't want to rely on technology for something like that. I just have a frame pump, works, right? What else? Someone said, oh, all that sealant on the brake track. By the next red light, next stop sign, that stuff is gone. That's the beauty of riding rim brakes, by the way. See, if you're riding disc brakes and that crap gets all over your rotors and your brake pads, you might contaminate them. And then they're squealing, they're making a bunch of noise. I'm a rim brake fan because of the simplicity. And things like this, sealant on the brake track, no big deal. Once you squeeze the brake a few times, it's gone. It disappears. It doesn't impact or contaminate anything. So rim brakes, again, a better braking solution for your bike. Controversial, I know, but it is. Someone asked if I carry a small bottle of sealant on my long rides. I used to do that on my 200 milers. I used to carry sealant, but I just don't see the need for it anymore. Sometimes before an ultra, I may put additional sealant in just as a precautionary measure, to have more sealant to give it more time to seal up while I'm riding. But I don't carry additional sealant anymore. And I used to have, I don't see the bottle now, but I used to have a bottle and it was about 4 ounces. And sometimes I used to take that, but I don't take that anymore. Let's see. Someone said tubeless is borderline and not worth it for rim brakes. Now, I used to agree with that person because I used to ride such narrow width tires. Like I said, 25s and then 28s. But now riding a 30 or 32 when I do a mixed terrain ultra, I had a 400K that, so 250 something miles with 17,000 feet of climbing. And we had a gravel section and then we had some other stuff. And I was like, let me put 32s on here. And I think my pressure was 58, 56, 58. Not to mention the great ride quality I was getting out of those 32s. If you're riding a very old carbon bike and you can barely fit a 25 tire in there, like let's say a Cannondale Super 6 Evo, one of the best carbon bikes ever made, but unfortunately you don't get the tire clearance. So that just doesn't work. Now, for tubeless, I mean. So if you're riding a 30, a 32 tire and your pressure is really low, I don't think it's borderline anymore. But that's why I ride a steel bike, because I can put a big tire into my bike. Whereas, some of these carbon bikes, some older steel bikes, but not that much. I mean, I think my Serrata has a very, I only got 25s in there. I haven't tried 28s, but I ride Ritchie bikes predominantly because I just get huge tire volume. Not to mention how comfortable and how performance orientated those steel bikes are. Yeah, so Rick Liang, I'm somewhat confused. I thought the Retro Grouch gave up on tubeless after all the reasons you said it sucked. Yes, I did. I have a video out there that 25 reasons why tubeless for road sucks. Some of those things still apply, like valve sticking, tubeless when you're trying to take the put a tube in. Sometimes you pinch the tube. Sometimes you can't break the bead. A lot of those things still apply. So there is still room for improvement for tubeless. So I haven't backed down on that. However, what I have over time, moving to a larger tire volume and lower pressures on a race tire, on a Continental GP 5000. I don't think they call it GP anymore. I think they just call it 5000 STR. I haven't had the punctures, and I think I've had one other puncture that sealed by itself, and I think maybe one other time I used a plug. In literally over 10,000 miles. So do the math for you folks, how much you ride per year, and then think about stretching that out through if you ride 5,000 miles per year, then that's like 1 or 2 flats I've had that I actually had to intervene by using a plug. So that'd be 2 years of riding for some of you folks. Someone asked what tire and what tire size. So yeah, it was a 30 in this case, and it's the 5000 STR. I don't ride puncture resistant tires. I think life's too short to ride shitty tires. So I typically will ride a very high quality race tire because I deserve it. I ride along a lot of miles. I want to be comfortable. I want to enjoy the performance, the grip. If you ever come ride with me and we descend a mountain, hang on, buddy, because I love descending fast and I love the grip of a tire. So I use a very high performance tire, and that would mean that it would be more puncture prone. Now, like let's say a Vittoria Corsa, yeah, that's a little bit more puncture prone than the Continental, but so I don't ride that one that often. But yeah, life's too short to ride shitty tires. Ride great tires, great performance. You will enjoy your experience much, much better on your bike. Oh, and then the funny thing in that video is someone yelled out, "You should have been riding tubeless." And I'm like, I am tubeless. Because guess what? No matter what system you're using, you're still going to get punctures. And not all of them are catastrophic. You just replace the tube, or in this case, just put a plug in and air up and keep going. So, yeah, nothing is fail safe except for a solid rubber tire, which, who wants to ride that, right? I think there may be a few more. And then, of course, there'll be reactions to this video as well. But yeah, I just can't see, there's people here talking about TPU. I just don't see the value in that. Now, I know Reginald Scott promotes TPU usage. Like I said, they're so expensive. And I don't want to buy Chinese product. I'm pretty much, for the time being, I'm not going to do Chinese group sets, wheels, frames, all that stuff that, what is it? That Chris Miller and Jesse, whatever his name is, with the Tavello frame. I don't want any of that stuff. I own a bike shop, so I definitely don't want to support those brands that are direct to consumer. That's just a principle of mine. I just don't support brands that are direct to consumer. It's just not my thing. I own a bike shop. This is my whole livelihood. My whole life's invested in running this. So I don't want to be supporting things that don't grow this cycling industry as a whole. So, like I said, I buy through my distributors, or I buy brands that are available only through bike shops and through my distributors. This is a comment that I will address as its own separate video, because there's a lot of stuff here. Emily CS 8823, you're gonna get a separate video, because there's just a lot of great stuff in that post, and I want to address it separately. There is someone who mentioned about CO2. Now, I would like some information from you folks. I believe the silica sealant is the one that reacts poorly to CO2. So please, someone make a comment down below. I've not had, like let's say I'm using Orange Seal and stands. I've not had too much issue with using CO2 with sealant, but generally speaking, I use a floor pump or a frame pump if I'm out on the road to reinflate a puncture of some sort. I did use CO2 once on a 300K. I think it dried up the sealant on that particular flat. So someone make a comment down below. I don't use a silica sealant. I think it's just too hard to work with. The carbon fiber bits and all this blah blah, it's just too complicated, and you can't pour it in through the valve. You got to break the seal of the tire. It's super messy. It's like Elmer's glue. You remember when you were kids and you would put Elmer's glue on your hand and then you'd peel it off and you'd have a handprint, fingerprint? That's what that stuff is like. It's just messy. And I just don't like stuff that's just too complicated. I don't know if I commented on this yet, but unedited field tests, yeah. I mean, a lot of stuff is unedited. That's just how my channel is. Anyway, that's all for now.
It's 8 o'clock.
And it's 8 o'clock, so I got to start turning a wrench. I came in early because I have a lot of work to do and I wanted to shoot this video and get it out into the interwebs so that you folks can make some comments and be like, oh, wait a minute, you were a Retro Grouch, you hated Tubeless, and now you're loving on Tubeless. I'm not loving on it, but I am liking it, and it's working for me for the time being. Dynaplug for the time being, as of 2024, is the best system for plugging a puncture and a repair, permanent repair, by the way. I leave these plugs in until the tire completely wears out, and then I get a new tire. So that's what's working for me. Drop a comment down below if you agree, disagree, what's working for you. Why do you love TPU so much? I just don't get it. It just seems like too much faff. And they leak air, it's just like latex. Latex doesn't make sense to me either. I know all the theoretical benefits of both of those things, but in practice, like a latex tube just bleeds out too much air. What's going to happen if I'm riding a 30-hour event and I'm losing air while riding? That's just stupid. So anyway, those are my thoughts. I am passionate about the things I believe in, and I'm not here to sell you stuff. So, I guess I could be selling you TPU tubes all day long because people like them, but that's just not how I am. I will be passionate and maintain a stance based on my own riding experience and sometimes things that happen with my customers, but mainly because I ride so much. Okay, thank you so much for watching. If you've gotten this far, I want to see a thumbs up in the comments section. I want to see who sticks around and watches my videos all the way through. There is a lot of information that I put out, and it's skipping through and all that stuff. You're just going to miss out. So please put a big thumbs up down in the comments section if you've gotten this far. Thank you for watching. I appreciate your support. I appreciate your time and your attention, and we'll see you up the road.